announcement. The American Sports Cavalcade.
But few can top last year in Nashville, the closing laps of the TNN All American 400. Front-runners Bobby Daughter and Jody Ridley collided in the third turn, which gathered in the cars driven by Harold Thayer and Kenny Wallace. But it was number 52, Butch Miller, who miraculously slithered to the bottom and romped home with his second consecutive win. Miller is back in Tennessee to try to make it 3.
Well, right now we're a little out to lunch, but I can remember a couple years ago when we spent like 2 weeks here out to lunch, and finally at the last second, the last practice session, we changed one shock absorber and the car was fast. We're kind of hoping for that right now.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the scene of the crime, Turn 3 at Nashville Motor Raceway. I'm Steve Evans. But you know, that race-deciding crash really should go blameless. The biggest factor was the wall here at Nashville on the half mile is so low in Turn 3, drivers can't see it out that right side window. And that's a lot of pressure when you're competing in the richest short-track stock car race in North America. And also, you're competing against other drivers you usually just read about and don't race against, because there's 3 organizations involved. All Pro from down here in the South, the American Speed Association, or ASA, from the Midwest, and the American Canadian Tour Cars from the northeast of the United States and eastern provinces of Canada. Back on the front straight, the grid is being established right now, and Brock Yates is there.
Well, Steve, anybody who saw that terrific TNN All American 400 last year will remember this number 72, the automobile of Junior Hanley. From way up in Ontario, Canada, Junior dominated this race last year, ran way out front for most of the event until a clutch failed on him. Now he's back, sitting on the pole here, having dominated last week's first 50-lap qualifier. And, Junior, you got to feel good about this. I know you're hoping that the clutch stays together this time, though.
Well, we got a little different clutch in the car this time. We were using aluminum clutch before, and now we got a steel one, and we hope it stays in.
Racetrack, good shape. You got a great field of cars, great day for racing, and a great place to start.
Well, we're starting up front here, but I don't know how long we can stay here because we're running a V8 motor. A lot of guys are running a 6-cylinder, so we got to take it real easy on our tires and see what happens.
Okay, well, all the best. We know you give it a great shot.
Thank you very much.
Junior Hanley. Now, another car on the outside of the front row is also a V8-powered automobile. We've got some different ones in the back of the field, but Jody Ridley from Chatsworth, Georgia, also ran up front in this race last year, did a beautiful job until he tangled 3 laps from the end with another automobile and put him out in a tragic finish. Fortunately, though, Jody ran very well again here this year, qualified well in last week's qualifying race, is starting on the outside of the front row in a Ford Thunderbird-powered car. So we got a Chevrolet and a Ford up front, and a great veteran. Jody, you have always run well here on this racetrack, but of course you want to put that horrible deal out of your memory from last year. But this year is a whole new deal, a whole new car, and you got to feel good.
Well, I do. You know, the car ran pretty good yesterday, and we made a change or two in it. And, you know, it went about like I figured. You know, if we can keep fresh tires on, we'll be in good shape. But, you know, we got a little power advantage over the V6s, but, you know, they got a handling advantage over us, so it kind of equals out, I guess. But we feel pretty good about our chances.
Okay, go get him. One of the great professionals in this business, Jody Ridley. You know, Jody talked about the practice times yesterday, but the V6s are a concern for him, and as well as Junior Hanley up front with their V8-powered cars. And for more on those kind of automobiles and the different automobiles in the field, let's go to our pal, Paul Page.
That's right, Brock. Back here in the second row, we're talking V6 power. And on the inside of the second row is one of the great masters, Dick Trickle. Dick, you think the V6s are going to play, especially toward the end of the race here?
Well, I think, you know, we got a rule here. We can only change 2 tires per caution period, you know, and the V8s will run out of rubber at times, and in long greens, the V6 will for sure be good. And last week's race, when we went to qualify, I ran second and right on the leader's bumper with a V6, so it was already showing up in a 50-lap race, so I'm sure in the 400, if things go normal, I would expect to see a V6 in the winner's circle here.
Now, you're getting around the pit still on crutches from your Watkins Glen accident. Is that going to bother you during the run?
Really not. I got a special brace at Dr. Hunter out of St. Louis. He's a sports medicine doctor and an orthopedic surgeon. I got a special brace that I drive in, and I really can't apply a lot of pressure to the heel and ankle, but I can work the ball of the foot real well, which is what I drive with. So I can't walk, but I can drive.
No question. And on the outside of the second row, again, we're talking V6 power. It's the defending champion, Butch Miller. He made a change from the V8 that he used in last week's race. He's hoping V6 will pay off today. Let's go further back in the field. Brock Yates.
Well, Paul, starting on the inside of the third row is a local favorite who ran so well in last week's 50-lap qualifier, David Green, from right outside here in Nashville in Goodlettsville, Tennessee. And David, first of all, congratulations on an excellent starting position. And I know you feel good about the race car, and you got a great day to go racing, and I know you got a bunch of folks up in the grandstand cheering for you.
Yeah, this is kind of home for me. You know, it's not really my home racetrack, but I have two brothers here at Race Weekly, and I kind of, you know, treat it that way. But last week's qualifying went real good. The qualifying races, the car was real competitive, and Junior and I really put on a good race. So I'm really looking forward to it. There's a lot of veterans up here, and I'm really excited.
Well, we're sure excited to have you up here. All the best.
Thank you.
Okay, David Green in a Chevrolet V8 aluminum powered, and on the outside, yet another Chevrolet powered automobile, a man we've seen run here so well over the years. Harold Fair talking with his son, his crew chief, for some last-minute information. And if we could just slide in here, we'll talk to Harold for just a minute out of Detroit, Michigan. Harold, I know you've run so well here over the years, and I know you're looking for a victory today.
Yeah, Brock, we worked pretty hard getting down here, and we feel the car is capable. We had to tighten her up a little bit after the qualifying race, but I feel that we can be right in the hunt all day long, and we're kind of really wanting this one kind of bad.
The outside of the third row, Ray up near the front. What's the strategy for the opening laps?
Well, we're not going to let them get away. We're going to kind of cool it a little bit in the beginning, but if we can run up here, we're going to run up here and just kind of try to stay in the lead pack all day and kind of see how the track turns out and whether we got to tighten, loosen, whatever we have to do. But whatever it takes, we're going to try to do it.
Good luck. All the best. Harold Fair. Paul?
Well, Brock, here inside of the fourth row is Dave Jackson, the 45 car. And here we're talking six-cylinder power. As a matter of fact, the fastest six-cylinder in the field. You feel good about that?
Oh, yes, we do. We're really proud of our six. We're one of the fastest six here, and we're hoping to take it to the front and stay up there. We're hoping the V8s will slow down this hot weather.
There's a lot of folks that seem to think the V8s are going to wear tires out and have to stop more. Is that the way you feel?
Yeah, they'll be wearing them out. We're hoping that we can go a little further, but it's going to have to wait and see at the beginning of the race, see how things go.
All right, Dave Jackson inside of the fourth row. Now, as we come around to the outside, here's a name that everybody knows, a master of the short tracks, and of course we're talking none other than Bob Seneker. Bob, you got a bit of traffic running up against you.
Well, it is, but it's not too bad because they're mostly good boys. We don't got to worry about them messing up on us. It's better than starting back in the middle of the pack, but not as good as starting in the front row.
When you got a long run like this, though, this starting position doesn't hurt you nearly as bad, does it?
No, it really doesn't. It's such a long race. We kind of got to pace ourselves a little because the tires wear really bad on this racetrack, but it's still going to be like a 400-lap dash, I'm afraid. Nobody else wants to slow down much.
All right, there's Bob Seneker ready to go. Now, way back in the 15th row is a man that we're going to be watching very early on.
Well, Paul, starting way back in the 15th row, based on some qualifying problems, is a young man from California, Ernie Irvin, who has cut such a wide swath in Winston Cup competition. First time here at Nashville, of course, excluding last week's qualifying races. But Ernie Irvin, I'll tell you what, got to be kind of a fun deal here to come. I know that you're a little more used to starting closer to the front, but what are we going to say, right?
Well, I tell you, these guys are real good competitors, and they're a lot of fun to be around, and it's an enjoyable weekend. It's our weekend off, and these guys are the guys that are going to come try to knock us out of our seats here soon. So, it gets me a feel for the guys. Purvis has moved up into our ranks now, and I think Teddy Musgrave's going to be running some races with us, and I'm going to help him out. So, it's fun to come to Nashville. It's an historical place, to make my first trip here, make the race, and had a little trouble last week with qualifying, but we got it all straightened out today, and we're going to give him a run for it today, I think.
Ernie Irvin. Steve?
What a fascinating mix of drivers and automobiles. The TNN All American 400 already has classic written all over it, and it hasn't even started yet. But it will when we come back. So stay with us for short track stock car racing from Music City.
Are you heard some of the drivers say it was going to be tough on tires here at Nashville. Boy, I'll tell you what, Butch Miller's crew sure believes that. Count them, 70 fresh tires sitting in his pit, ready for use here during these 400 laps.
And they may be of different circumferences, but one thing we know for sure, they are the same compound. That is required in the associations competing here today. Everybody runs on what they call a specification tire. There'll be different circumferences, so you can change the stagger on the automobiles, but as far as grip's concerned, they'll all be the same.
And there's going to be a lot of guesswork as far as the stagger here, Steve. Nobody's quite got that figured out. As we have a look at that black and green trimmed automobile, the number 61 of Ernie Irvin, the Californian who's done such a terrific job in his very relatively short career in Winston Cup competition.
Pair of V8s up front, Junior Hanley and Jody Ridley, but they don't feel all that confident about that combination. That came through in their interviews.
Dick Trickle and Butch Miller in the second row. David Green, the local favorite. Harold Fair from Detroit in row 3. Row 4, David Jackson and Bob Seneker. Seneker wish he was a little bit closer to the front, but he'll work his way. He's a patient man. Rick Corelli from Denver, Colorado, and Glenn Allen Jr., young man from Ohio, has done such a good job recently. Russ Earl and Tim Steele, good runners. Ted Musgrave and Steve Burgess, two guys that we're going to see here all day long. Gary St. Amand in that number 7 car. Watch him. He is starting in row 8, but I think can probably do better as the race gets kind of stabilized.
Also, Randy McDonald, the 01 car from Canada. There's a young Charger. He just missed winning the American Canadian Tour Championship this year.
Scott Hansen, we've seen him run very well here in the 53. Jeff Neal, a good runner from ASA. He's a solid competitor. Jeff Purvis and Newt Moore in row 13. Tom Jones, been around a long time, as is Tom Harrington.
And back in row 15 is that 61 car and Ernie Irvin. In the qualifier last week, they dropped a cylinder. We're only running on 7. They've got the 8th one back, and the crowd may get what it wants here, and that's a established NASCAR star moving to the front.
Right. Claude Leclerc, the number 11 from way up in Montreal, Canada, Quebec, one of the American Canadian Tour regulars and a fine driver in his own right. A packed grandstand here at the site of the Tennessee State Fair. A big crowd on hand. A beautiful day of racing and for just sitting watching some great short track stock car competition.